All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We'll get started. I am Diane Halsey at Think Small. And I just want to say, first off, I'm really excited for us to be talking with you all today. This has been something that we've had in the works for a little while. I've always wanted to make sure that all the home visitors and the Home Visitor Coalition knew about the texting program. So really hoping that you all take this information today and even spread it to your colleagues. So Think Small embarked on an endeavor a couple years ago as we were looking at the research of how short, simple text could really change behavior for parents and caregivers. And so we had some initial grant funding to help us explore this option. And so we began talking with people, talking with families, and people that were doing texting. And long and short of it is we landed on entering into a relationship with ParentPowered, which is the organization that was the outgrowth of the research that Ben York in Stanford did about the Ready for K texting program, and which saw great results in parents that are actually that would get 3 texts a week. And they even tested to say, which is what's too little, what's too much.
Enter your meeting ID, followed by pound.
I think somebody needs to mute their phone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta get out of it. There we go.
Enter your participant ID, followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound. Continue.
Okay.
You are in the meeting now. There are 13 participants in the meeting. This meeting is
Kim, you might need to mute your computer. That might be it.
Okay, there it is.
And then also, Diana/Diane, we are seeing the presenter view, so make sure you go to your display settings. Yeah.
Okay, so we see just the first page.
We see the page. You're not seeing the PowerPoint?
Screen sharing.
We see the PowerPoint, but we're seeing the presenter view of it, not just the slide that you're on.
Okay.
Oh, well, we didn't advance anything yet, so.
But so this is what you see right now is like all the different slides?
Oh.
Yep, we can see like the area that you would edit slides, etc.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So tell me again, display settings.
Yep.
Right?
And then that first one.
Presenter view.
Correct. Now we can only see early childhood. Yep.
Now you see the entropy.
Okay, that's good.
All right. Thank you for that.
You can go ahead and advance.
All right.
Yeah. So we were very one of the reasons why we even embarked on this endeavor in the first place is because we were wanting to do something about about the achievement gap, the word gap, and really wanting to look at how we could advance literacy in those early years, even though we at Think Small are not really a direct service organization. And so as we began to work with ParentPowered, initially they were targeting 3- and 4-year-olds. That was what the pilot work was done. And so they, as we worked with them, they grew their program to start at birth, and it now goes through age 8, I think. Mm-hmm. And they're continuing to add ages. And it's across 4 domains: literacy, numeracy, health, and social emotional development. And so we can go to the next, yeah. And so through those domains, we have realized that that texting is an effective strategy to engage parents. And especially these days, because many parents, young parents, this is how they receive information. They like to get information this way. It also provides continuous. So, as you're busy doing, the work of parenting and living your lives, you get your text. They're short, so it doesn't take up a lot of time, and they encourage engagement. So you can, the text encourage that engagement. And we have realized that most people, when they get texts, have a 95% open rate, which is far and above, like, say, getting an email. And so that is also another reason why we wanted to land on a texting program. Okay.
Next. Okay.
So as I mentioned, our texting program, Think Small, Parent-Powered Text, is based on the research out of Stanford. It is free for families. Mm-hmm. So when they sign up, they pay nothing except whatever they might have to pay, if they pay anything now, for the text for their phone provider, but the actual program is free. It is based on a fact tip growth model, which we'll talk about later. So they get three a month. I'm sorry, 3 a week. Yep. And it is based on their developmental level. So you enter a birth date, and then the texts that they receive actually have to coincide with the age of the child.
Yes.
So,
okay.
You can go ahead and take it.
All right. All right. So I'm going to move the computer just a little bit. You can see me, right? Well, you're all muted. I'm going to assume that you can all see me. Okay, thank you. So I am Diana Neidecker, so Diana with a A at the end. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator here at Think Small. My main job is to manage kind of the day-to-day of the texting program. So after we are done today, if you need more of anything or have any questions, I will really be your point of contact. I will really be your person kind of with all of those answers. So echoing what Diane said, I really appreciate that you are all taking the time to be here. We really appreciate it. I know that we are really excited for this opportunity and appreciate all of the work that you all do. So building off of what she said, so the fact tip growth model is what we follow. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, texts come through around 4 o'clock in the afternoon is when they come. So each week follows a theme. So it could be anything from transitions, math, big body emotions, storytelling, anything that kind of fits into the domains that Diane talked about. So every Monday will be a fact kind of kicking off what that theme is. So you can see on your screen the example is words. Words open up a world of learning. They help children communicate with others, discover new things, learn all about the world, right? So a fact about that theme, a fact about words. And so then on Wednesday, parents will receive a tip. So building on that, right? Something you can do regarding your theme. So at bedtime, introduce words that name objects, right? Get silly, good night comforter, good night lampshade, good night dog, all of these things. And then on Friday is growth. So kind of a bonus tip, right? How do you take what you have been doing throughout the week based on those two texts, and how do you kind of bring it home or build on it, or kind of keep it as a skill that you'll keep going. So keep naming objects. Now add descriptive words. Good morning, shaggy carpet. Good morning, hairy dog, etc. Like I said, each week follows a theme. So the texts are geared towards every child's age and development. So let's say, for example, I have a 7-year-old and you have a toddler, right? So this week's theme is math. Right? So let's say that my 7-year-old is going to get a text regarding, or you as a parent, right? Regarding fractions, right? Pizzas, halves, wholes, thirds, quarters, what does that look like? And then your toddler is going to receive a message regarding, let's say, counting out Cheerios at snack time, or finger plays, right? 5 little monkeys counting down from 5, what that looks like. So let's see, does that make sense? I don't want to make you all unmute to say yes. Let's see. So we have a quick 3-minute video. So we have a parent in the Twin Cities community who we filmed. It's just a quick 3-minute video talking about what the texts have meant for her and her family. So I am going to hit play. Actually, really quick, if anybody has questions about that fact tip growth model or the themes, if you want to ask questions now, you can do that before I press play.
Absolutely genius.
Thanks. Thanks. We feel good about it. I mean, I think we're really proud of this program.
Waiting to share with my parents.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good. I am really excited for that. Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Anybody else?
Yeah.
All right.
Laura.
Yes.
Hi, can you just help clarify? So you were saying if a parent has 2 children, they can sign up separately for each child, correct? So they potentially would they get 6 text messages, or would you be able then to say, send me these two ages in one text?
So the answer to that is no. The answer is, right, so someone says, I have 3 kids, right? 9 messages a week, way too much, right? It's overwhelming. Parents are going to say, I don't have time for this. It's stressful. They'll unenroll. And so the rule that we follow is 1 date of birth per phone number, right? So you have 2 children, you can sign up 1 child, and then another adult in that child's life can sign up that other child. So for us as an agency, it doesn't matter to us. It can be an auntie, a grandma, another parent. It can be a nanny. It doesn't matter the relationship on our end. But so on your phone, it's 1 date of birth per phone number. Otherwise, we found like focus groups when we first launched this, it's just too much.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you for that.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
So if because everyone here today, it does home visiting or supervises home visitors, do you have suggestions on whether we encourage families to sign up the youngest or the oldest child in the family?
Yep. I always recommend the youngest child is what I say. The texts are great that you really can kind of bump them up or down based, right? You have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. You really can kind of use that and just change it a little bit, right? Bump it up to make it a little more developmentally appropriate or bump it down. But I always suggest, so my suggestion is always either the youngest child or the child that the parent could use a little more support with. And usually a parent has a child in mind. I mean, my mom would say me. I mean, parents, right, have a child in mind. So that is usually my suggestion because that gets asked often. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes. Anything else before I press play?
Yeah, just a quick question. Will this eventually be offered in Spanish?
It is in Spanish and in Somali. So we can talk about that next. But yes, it's offered in English, Spanish, and Somali right now.
All right.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yes. Anything else? All right, here we go. I'm doing it. All right.
Hi, I'm Mary Texador. This is my son Jeremiah, who's 3.5, and Audra, who's 18 months. When I saw the ParentPowered text, I thought, wow, this looks really interesting. As soon as I started getting them, I thought this is great, and I want to tell everybody I know that's a parent about these because they're so simple and practical and straightforward that you can't go wrong with it. There's 3 text messages you receive each week. There's a fact, there's a tip, and there's a growth. So the fact is just your basic information, and then your tip is something to apply, and then the growth is applying it even further. Every week that I get one, I'm ready for the next one. And there's times when I'm thinking, I wish I could tell them what else I need because they're so helpful. One of the messages was about empathy and how to be ready for kindergarten, children need to be ready to be empathetic towards other children. The tip was that during a book, you should look at whether the character is scared or sad and talk to your child about how that character is feeling and what can we do to help. One lonely spider wished to play. So we're reading The Spider's Tea Party, where there's a character who's very sad because no one will come to her tea party. And Jeremiah is listening into the story, and he comes over and he said, oh, Mommy, look, she's so sad. I said, you're right, she is really sad. So what could we do to help her? And he said, I know, we could be her friends, and we could go to her house and play. And that moment just sort of melted my heart. At 3.5, he was able to pick up on we could do something, and this is something concrete that we could do to make her feel better. So just watching it in action was really incredible to me. I feel as a parent, there's so much I'm supposed to be doing and I should be doing, but I feel a little bit overwhelmed at trying to just be a mom all the time. These tips are just simple. One thing I can do a week. It's everyday moments. Is she sad? What do you think you could do to help her? Teaching my child empathy during a bedtime book. I never would have thought to do that. This gives me a second thought of this is an educational opportunity. This is our time to be together and our time to bond that I kind of forget about when I'm going through the day. I like that it's making me focus on my son and on our relationship, but also knowing that it has these long-term effects. 2 beetles gasped and ran away. I do see it useful for anyone who's involved with kids' lives. I've been telling my dad about it, and he's been trying to even use those when he's with our son. I signed my husband up to receive the messages for our daughter. You can come back to the text messages at any time. Last week we were traveling. kind of skim through the text message, but then I go back and look at it when it's a good time because I still want to be applying those things because they're easy to apply and I know it's making a difference. So really targeted messages that are in the moment, I think just age appropriate. And that's the beauty of it. All I can think about is if all of the parents were doing these tips with their kids, what a huge impact we would be having.
All right. So one thing that Mary says in the video, which I say often to parents and providers and folks that I am working with, is that like she had mentioned, these texts are such a good reminder to parents, right? We're not asking you to go buy anything or do anything big and fancy, right? We're talking about when you're folding laundry, right? And you're talking about patterns, right? You put a sock on your hand and you make a silly voice. That counts as learning, right? Like you're driving to Temple or you're driving to Target and you're talking about the colors of, you know, all the different things that you're seeing. That counts as learning, right? So just really good reminders that these are easy things. And a lot of folks are already doing these, but parenting's hard, right? Like it's really hard to be a parent. And so if we can just be there to say, hey, you're doing this and here's just a tiny thing you can do to make things better, that's a win, right? Like we all win when kids are just learning a little bit more every day. So any questions before I move on? I'll talk about how to enroll next. That's the next thing that I will talk about. So anything before we move on? Okay. All right, so there are 3 ways to enroll, and like Karen said, so texts are available in English, Spanish, and Somali. A question that gets asked often about Spanish is that it's translated into Mexican Spanish, so that is a thing that you might get asked. 3 ways to sign up. So let's see, did everybody see all of our materials? Did all of those get sent out?
Oh, I'm not sure I did that.
Okay, no worries. No worries, we will do that. So if they haven't been done, that's no problem. But so there are materials that can get sent out to everybody. So first is paper forms. So we have paper enrollment forms, individual signups in all 3 languages, and then a group signup sheet that over on the right-hand side has check boxes where people can pick the language that they want. So paper forms are really great. The extra step is that you have to get them back to me in some form. So physically mail them in, scan them, email them. Somehow I need them back to put the information in the system. It is a little extra work, but we have found that paper enrollments are really effective, right? Especially if you're going into homes, you already have kind of a packet of information, right? And here's an info sheet, here's some information, family sign up, and then you can just send that in. So that's up to all of you if you want to take that extra step. If you do, I mean, it is effective. So paper forms in all 3 languages. We also, families right here on the screen, you can see thinksmall.org/texts with an S at the end. There's a landing page there, super simple. Families just put their name, phone number, child's date of birth, and then there's a drop-down menu. They can pick kind of how they got there, right? How they were driven to the website to sign up. And then we have bookmarks. So I will hold these up. We have bookmarks in all 3 languages. I'm going to turn this a little bit like this. And so they're just small, 2 by, 5-ish, 4-ish. And so a little bit of information, this one's Somali, little bit of information on each. And so parents can text in enroll. That is the 3rd way to enroll. So right here on the bottom, can you all see this? I'm assuming you can.
So, sorry, Diana,
no
if you want to stop sharing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, because then you see me, right?
You a bit bigger. And then everyone, if you want to go to speaker view, and then you'd be able to see in the top right corner of your Zoom, then you'll be able to see just Diana's face if you're not there already. So now you can hold it up.
Okay.
Now you can hold it up and we should be able to see
what I look like, yeah. Okay. All right, so these are, so you didn't see any of the bookmarks, right? So let's go back here. So these are the 3 bookmarks. We have Spanish, Somali, and English. And then on the bottom, right here, this is how parents text in to enroll. So they text TS for English, TS ESP for Spanish, here, and then TS SOM for Somali. And they will immediately be prompted to enter their child's date of birth And then from there, the following Monday at 4 o'clock, their text will begin. And let me go back to the languages. So for Spanish and Somali, there must be a space in between TS and the language code. So TS space ESP, TS space SOM. Otherwise, it won't go through. That's just the way the system is set up. Let's see. So bookmarks. So I have a bunch of these. And so after this, if anybody wants to reach out and say, hey, I could use 50 or enrollment forms or sign-up sheets, whatever that looks like. Like I mentioned earlier, I am your person for all of that. So let me stop for questions. I have a couple other things to say about enrollments, but I'll let anybody ask questions if you have any first.
Sorry, could you repeat that again for Spanish? You said TS.
ESP.
What's the number?
Yep, 70138. And the number is the same regardless of language. So 70138. And so when parents receive text, that's the number that will come through. So it will say you have a message from 70138. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Atande. Yep, that looks great. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions about enrollment? I'll just keep smiling until somebody asks a question. I'm watching myself. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm like a toddler. I'm just staring at myself in the mirror. So I'm watching myself. This is why nobody FaceTimes with me, because I just watch myself. Okay, so I have a list here of some other things that usually get asked. Yes, so paper forms as well. Is that what you were saying? That I can send those in PDF form. I can print multiples if you need them. Let's see. Sometimes we get the question of, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm due in July. Do you offer like prenatal texts? And the answer is no. So what I usually recommend for people who are expecting is to sign up basically today, like make today your baby's, sign up date, instead of asking them to just like, hey, can you wait and sign up in July? Because usually when you have a baby, you have other things to do than sign up for a texting program. So there are no prenatal texts, but yes, they can sign up kind of with a, adjusted birthday, if you will. If parents say, hey, I'm done, these texts no longer serve me, right? I'm done with this. They just reply, stop, S-T-O-P, and that's the end of it. So we won't bother you, none of that. That is it. Oh, that was easy. So Amy, I was just gonna say the same. If anybody wants to sign up now, you can do that and just kind of play around with it. And you can enter your own child who's under 8. Otherwise, if you don't have children or have children that are older, you can just create a birthday. I have a fake toddler on my phone that keeps getting older. So what else can I say? Yes, if anybody wants to sign up now, birth through age 8, we're hoping to build it out, but right now it is the day before you turn 9. My contact information. So if anybody wants to reach out after this, my phone number is, I'll give you my phone number first. So it's 651-641-3555. And then my email, you can see from my name. So it's D and then my last name, Nidecker @thinksmall.org. Thank you. So good. All right. Any questions? Anything I didn't cover? Anything you want me to recover?
I have a question.
Yes.
2 questions about expanding. Are there any plans to do this in Hmong at all or no? Just thinking about languages. And then my second question is, have you all given thought or research or done research related to what it would look like prenatally?
Both good questions.
So I'll talk about the Hmong. So we were in the beginning we had plans to translate to Hmong, but after we talked with several parents and people that work in the Hmong community, we decided not to do that, mainly because the feedback we were getting is that most of the parents that are Hmong would be speaking English, and that if they needed translation, because there's so few characters in Hmong, that what they usually prefer to do is get something in English and then ask somebody to verbally translate it for them. And so that something written in a text form would not be very helpful. So that was the feedback that we were getting. We always kind of held it open that if we get different feedback that we might translate it, but that was the decision we made at the time. I will also add that that these are the languages that we are using most in Minnesota. In California, they have everything is also translated into Chinese, but that was not a language that we needed here as much, but it is available there. And I think they have maybe one other language, I don't know, that we don't use here. Was it Vietnamese? Maybe I don't know.
I'm trying to think.
I
It wasn't
can't remember.
Russian. It wasn't Russian.
It's something else.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
But we always, but they are very open to translating into other languages. And so if there are other languages that pop up here in Minnesota that might be needed more, you know, we can always have that conversation.
Yeah. And along with that, you know, I spend a lot of time in our St. Paul communities. And I think, you know, we have a lot of Korean folks, a lot of folks who I think kind of where like a lot of members of our Hmong community were 20 years ago, where there really wasn't any like even like conversational English. I think a lot of folks in our Korean communities are kind of in that same boat. And so if that is I think we've talked a little bit about, at this point, it's never been done, right? Like, I think it would be difficult to translate into Korean. And even there are not a lot of like outreach folks kind of in the Korean community. We've worked with a couple of like there's a Korean Center, Korean of Minnesota Center, something like that. And we've worked with them and just kind of asked a couple kind of questions on what would this look like and would your, you know, community members be interested. But at this point, that is not something we're doing, but I think that would make sense to be the next language if there would be a fourth language to translate into. But yes, and then the prenatal.
What was I forgot the other question.
If there are texts in for prenatal.
So I will add. So our work, as I mentioned, we are in partnership with ParentPowered, and they are the ones that basically, you know, have developed how they're going to build this out. We have been in and I should also mention that we are their Minnesota partner. They have partners all over the country. So these texts are all over the country, and I think maybe a little bit internationally. They've done some work. And so so I think that they are, you know, they have been getting feedback about the prenatal. They certainly have also been getting feedback about older years as well. So they continue to look at that, and they continue to think through about how they want to build out this texting program. And so if at any point they do build it out into prenatal, definitely we would be able to add that as well.
Yeah. And another thing I just thought of as Diane was speaking. So another question we get, as she was saying, that we are the only ones in Minnesota that are doing this, right? Which makes us really unique. And so it's completely statewide, which is another thing that gets asked sometimes, like, is this only Metro? And nope, it's folks throughout the state. Yep. Which also is unique for us as an agency because most of our work is primarily in the Metro. But so these texts, like they are similar, yes, to others throughout the country, but they are also aligned with the Minnesota State School Standards, which makes them unique. And then they are also aligned with ESIPs, like the Early Childhood Indicators of Progress. So that does make our texts a little more unique at times than some of the others. But yes, so state school standards and ESIPs, they fit the requirements, which is also great for folks who are, you know, also partnering with different school partners. Yes. Any other questions?
I do have one. This is just kind of like more out of curiosity. So I feel like when you think about translating this work to other languages, like it's not simply the language, but it's also some like the cultural pieces around like different practices. And so I'm curious about if translated into, I'm looking at you can't see my video. Hi, everybody. I'm looking at my text right now from there, and I'm just looking through like, you know, some of these might be like pretty particular to maybe like American culture or, you know, what we do here. And I'm wondering like whether that piece is incorporated into the different languages that are received. Different text messages are received in various languages.
Yep. That's a good question. So when we started translating, and you can speak to this as well, I'm sure, but as we were translating into Somali, like our info sheets, which is another thing we can send out, but it says, have fun and boost your child's learning. And I think in the Somali culture, that's not really a thing, right? Like school is for learning and fun is for fun, right? Like they're a little more separate. And so we had to be a little more aware of kind of altering that message a little bit, right? To be a little more culturally sensitive. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I thought of another thing. Everyone, so we've gotten a handful of these questions, but this is a little more heavy, but as we have folks that maybe don't have legal status, right? We have some folks that are worried about signing up, putting their name, putting their number down. And us as an agency, us as a program, we're not challenging or doing any research or turning anything in on immigration status. That is not of interest to us. I know that we've had some families that have been concerned about putting their name down. And also to add to that, the only thing I need for this program is a birthday and a valid phone number. So if you have somebody that is not comfortable putting down their name, they don't have to.
And the birth date doesn't have to actually be.
Yep, the birth date doesn't have to, they could change the month by a month or you're right, the day by a couple weeks if folks are worried about tracking. We really use this data for data, right? Like how many kids under, how many 3-year-olds are receiving these texts, right? Like we are not looking up, we don't ask for address, we don't ask for zip code. And so that is another thing in some of the communities that you may serve. We are not tracking immigration status. Either is ParentPowered. I actually checked with their legal team to make sure. So that's another thing to be aware of. As an agency, we're really here to make the world better for children. So we don't have time to, that's not what we're here for.
No.
Yes. Yes. Anything else? We're a little over. I don't want to take any more time than we need to.
I just want to make sure everybody knows we do have the materials you sent us.
Okay.
So you can either reach out to Diana, whose contact information is on the chat bar there, or either Atande or myself, and we can get those materials to you.
Great. Yeah, and if you have any other questions, as soon as we hang up, if you think, oh, I should have asked this thing, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, if you want bookmarks, yeah, whatever that looks like. I am around.
Great.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. And I'll send out some stuff after.
Great.
Yeah, I'll get my life together and I'll do the thing.
worries.
So yeah, don't worry. So it was nice to meet everybody.
Yes.
Make the connections, etc. I know Diana wanted to meet Ariella and etc.
Yes.
So
Yes,
yeah.
Ariella, please reach out to me.
Connections.
Yes.
Get signed up. If I don't know how you all heard this, but if you're not particularly signed up on our listserv on MailChimp, I can help you do that too. And that's where you just can hear more about home visiting and some of the events and the trainings that we have coming up. So please get signed up and connected to us.
Great.
Cool.
I'm sorry, Tande, how do you do that again?
How do you do what exactly?
The connection.
Oh, home visiting.
yes.
I will email you about that.
Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the work.
Thanks for setting it up.